Take a load off and grab a seat. Pull up a chair, prop up your feet. That's fine by me. Fine by me. Yeah. It's podcast time. It's fine by me. The rural agricultural episode. Of course, joined by our friend Wes.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is our first rendezvous at the quote-unquote studio that we're trying to make, I guess.
Yeah, we're at the shop for the first time since week one, since the lost episode.
Yeah, this is the first time we've been out here since then, and it's changed a lot. Nick has made a lot more money that he didn't tell the IRS about.
We have an esteemed guest with us today from the Ag Co-op, from the Extension Office of the University of Kentucky. We have Jason Phillips here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. Thank you very much. Pause for laughter and clapping.
I gave him a couple bumps on the mic.
Yeah. Hey, I've had lesser receptions.
We don't have a live studio audience, so.
I keep forgetting,
Hey, I'm a fan. This place is looking pretty nice.
Yeah, it's
like
good.
home, man.
It's a little warm in here.
It is.
I wasn't going to comment on that. Just mainly the looks.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the. I see what you're going for here.
Yeah.
It's got a vibe to it.
I'm digging it.
Well,
People call these murder walls, where I splattered all this red paint on the walls here.
But there's blue too, so you don't discriminate.
Yeah. It's Louisville and Kentucky.
It's kind of going with some kind of vicious fight between an alien and a human type situation going on back here.
Gotcha. Didn't you have a table didn't you have like a big? I thought we were gonna be sitting at a table on the way up here, because the last I remembered there was a big ass table in this room.
There possibly could have been Wes, and I've lost that table.
Well, I mean, it was a big wooden table that was in the middle of the room.
Well, that happens when you can't control how your mind works.
Yeah, it's fair.
You just kind of lose tables sometimes. I don't even remember this table.
I'm pretty sure I do. Because I thought I was like, that's gonna be cool one day for all three of us to be kind of sitting in a line like this. But I also like this setup a lot too. It looks a lot more casual, which is what we are going for. I feel like.
Who needs a table?
Who needs a damn table? We got an orange ottoman.
Yeah.
Jason,
if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your job and what you do for Simpson County.
Well, I'll tell you the technical answer, and then I'll tell you what I do.
Awesome.
So first, if basically there's an extension office in all 120 counties in the state of Kentucky. And so I'm the agent for agriculture and natural resources. So I serve as a liaison for the university. I serve as an educator for the county. Basically, I connect local folks with research-based information from the University of Kentucky. And everything that I do has to do with agriculture, natural resources, and horticulture. So we have specialists. Obviously, that's a wide net.
Yeah.
And so we have specialists in basically all those areas that I can reach out to, and if I need their assistance because they're specialized in a particular area, then we can lean on those folks.
What's the local folks you're talking about that you lean on or that you communicate with, I guess?
So,
what are you talking about, local farmers or local?
Not just farmers. Farmers are definitely part of our clientele.
Okay.
But really at the extension office, so big picture here. I work for the University of Kentucky, which is a land-grant university, meaning they've got a responsibility for teaching, research, and education. Mm-hmm. And that started back in the early 1900s. So that created the Extension Service. And down at the Extension Service, we have an agent for 4-H youth development. We've got an agent for family and consumer sciences. We all work on community and economic development, and then I do agriculture and natural resources. So anybody in the community, period, can take advantage of our services. Now, I do work with agriculture, natural resources, horticulture, so I said I'm going to say what the technical answer is, and then I'm going to say what it is that I do.
Yeah.
So if it's alive and it's outside, then I deal with it.
Gotcha.
And that pretty well encompasses everything from lawn and turf to insects to plant disease identification. We've got a lab we can send plants off to.
So, like, if something comes in, say in a river or something, that's like a invasive species, like you would be like probably the point man on like having to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean it can. Well, the first thing that comes to mind when you say a river and buffalo gnats are the first thing that come to mind.
Naturally.
Yeah. I mean,
course.
wasn't that the first thing that came to your mind?
I was about to say, you took the words out of my mouth.
I was thinking like alligator gar or something was the first thing that I was thinking of.
Well, I'll tell you why. There was a couple years ago that I was out, near Red River.
Yeah.
And this was actually a problem around Drake's Creek and around Red River. But there were these little gnats that would get in your face, in your eyes, and you honestly couldn't hardly have a conversation.
Dang.
I remember meeting out there with Jeff Burr one day, trying to talk to him about something pertaining to his crops. We couldn't even talk. Of course, that was right by the river.
Yeah.
And they lay their eggs in the river, in the riffle, or the fast moving, which is kind of odd. You'd think it'd be in the still water.
Mm-hmm.
And they come from these streams, and they're attracted to CO2. A lot of insects are. That's why they like swarm your face.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as you're breathing out CO2,
Never
they're
knew that.
right in your face. And so when you say things that come in on streams, it might be different than what most people would think, but my mind immediately goes to those buffalo gnats.
See, I wouldn't have thought about that just because, I mean, I've been around a lot of water, but I lived here. I don't know if he's told you anything about me. I lived here in 2010-ish for like a year or two. But
Yeah.
So I don't know a great deal about Franklin. I'm from Scottsville, so I'm not from far from here, but I don't know anything about Franklin's wildlife or anything like that, I guess. But I'm sure it's not much different, but I don't remember anything like these, what did you say, buffalo?
Buffalo gnats.
Buffalo
They're like
gnat?
a little midge.
Yeah.
It's an insect.
I don't remember ever dealing with something like that.
I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm from here. I was born and raised here. I moved to Lexington. I went to school at UK. Lived there for 5 years. Really enjoyed it. I didn't know where I was going to go, honestly, or what I wanted to do. But I always had a love for agriculture. My granddad farmed, and I'll tell you what. There he's supporting our local tobacco producer.
Oh, buddy,
there.
I've been taking fat pinches of grizzly wintergreen all day.
Lipskis.
Yeah, Lipskis.
Dipskis for
There you
Lipskis.
go.
As fat as I can pack them.
Not a thing wrong with that.
Ever since I got tobacco poisoning on Jacob Walton's tobacco patch when I was 10, I've been addicted. I was like, yeah, boy, give me a pinch. I'm puking, but I'm ready, baby.
I remember having an old man back when I was like real young. Like we had drying tobacco in a barn, and he said, "Just pull you a leaf off there and rip some of it up and throw it in your mouth." And I was like, I mean, I was also like 10 years old or something, so I was like,
I will tell you, because this is way more important than what I was actually saying. We can go back to that, but I'll tell you what, Nick, and kind of a similar deal. So I still, to this day, I dip Copenhagen long cut.
Yeah.
And I remember back in the day, I took a dip of Copenhagen snuff. I was catfishing. And, we were catching some fish, and I'm sitting there on the bank, and my buddy, he looks at me, and he says, "Man, you're kind of turning white," and he said, "Are you good?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm good." And then I laid down, and he knew at that point I wasn't good. Buddy, I rolled over, started puking, and you'd have thought I'd had enough sense to not dip more, but I'm still dipping to this day.
It just looks too cool.
Yeah.
Baseball players made it look cool. I mean, Mark McGwire hit his 60th home run with a fat dip in his lip. I promise you that.
I was like, you've seen several pitchers on the mound.
Yeah.
All the greats are out there with just a fucking...
It's just a sign of toughness,
I've got tobacco hanging up in these pallet racks on the outside over here, so this is an agricultural warehouse for sure.
Agricultural.
You got a license for that?
I
need to bleep that out.
Boy, I tell you what. If we're going to start getting the government involved in everything we do, then we're just going to have to give up.
They damn near are, man.
I've got a question I've been wanting to ask you, Jason, for a little bit.
Yeah.
I've had this idea, about having a venomous snake milking farm. Just a wall full of venomous snakes, milk them once a week, selling it to a lab to make anti-venom out of. Do you know anything about that?
Well, first, let me start from the start.
Yeah, that's a great place to start.
That's where I like to start. So, pretty much, first off, we do deal with snakes, snake identification. We've got a wildlife specialist. Of course, I've identified a lot of snakes. So the girls love it when I go out and promote the fact that a person can bring a snake in to be identified at the extension office. When they hear this episode, they're gonna be immediately pissed off because I actually said that. But we do. That is
Bring your snakes in, folks.
Wait, what girls are we talking about? You got a
In the
wedding ring or
office.
what?
The girls at my office.
Oh, okay,
Let me clarify. I just say my girls. You know.
He's Mormon.
I was like, wait, what?
My harem. No. Wait, I was talking about college. Now I shifted. I'm gonna have to shift my mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was still on college.
Yeah.
Jason.
Maybe I rewound temporarily to college. So getting to your point, I do think that is not a question that I've ever had.
All right.
So
that's what I'm here for.
I feel like that, about the time I've been doing this. I think it makes me sound old, and maybe I am, but I've been doing this 19 years now, and it's the only real job that I've ever had. I mean,
Sweet.
I've been a lifeguard.
Yeah.
I did hold the pole for a land surveyor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just waiting for y'all to run with that.
Hey, pole boy. 2 feet to the left, dumbass.
Ride that pole, boy.
I can't say that it took any technical expertise. I'm pretty sure he kept me around for my stories. But no, it's the only real job that I've ever had. I've been doing it 19 years, and I've never had anybody. Now, I can identify venomous snakes. There's 3 venomous snakes naturally in Kentucky.
Yeah.
The cottonmouth, rattlesnake, and copperhead. Mm-hmm. But now, having venomous snakes because you want them, no, I've never encountered that. But I do think
He's trying to make money off of it. Nick's always about to hustle.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a guy for that. So I can get you started, but I get a lot of crazy questions, so I never know what I'm about to get, and that's just, hey, I've had some really, really wild ones. Now that ranks right up there.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So you ought to be.
I did ask Sam Crocker about it a couple of weeks ago, and he said you might be surprised on just how easy it is to get a license for that, especially if it's benefiting the medical field. But the exotic pet laws in Kentucky are a lot more harsh than, let's say, Tennessee. You can have skunks and foxes and.
What do you mean? So they're
you
less
can have
harsh in Kentucky?
They're more restrictive in Kentucky.
Oh, so in Tennessee you could have all the things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you can't have bobcats. You can't have monkeys.
Now,
I'm absolutely sure that we've covered this before, but there's more tigers alive in captivity in Texas, or maybe it's lions.
No,
it's lions or tigers. One.
Big cats.
Big cats. There's more big cats alive in Texas than there are in
The whole world combined.
Yeah.
In the wild.
Yeah, in the wild.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
that's wild.
That is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. That's a stat. Y'all can look that up. Google it.
Or don't.
That's a real stat.
Just trust Wes. I do. Why wouldn't you?
I'm going to tell you, for your marketing though, I'm going to jump back to your snakes for a second. I feel like that you're going to need to have a good contact over around, Clinton, Cumberland, some of those counties where they still handle the snake.
Oh, the Protestant. Is it Protestants?
I don't remember.
Who are those?
I don't know what they are. I just always called them snake preachers.
Yeah.
Snake handling.
Yeah.
And that's a real thing. I mean, they said the most antivenom they kept was actually on the ambulances over there because that's where everybody got bit.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because they were just out walking in the woods.
Yeah, it was because they were thought.
They were handling snakes.
Indoors. Indoor snakes. Oh, we got another special guest.
Voluntarily
Come on in.
handling snakes. Look at there.
Local celebrity Chris Brown walking in the building. This is our new podcast studio, Chris.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Now that we got a pooper, Josh can come and not have to worry about shitting his pants.
Yeah.
Josh Harrington.
Yeah.
That's
Actually,
a constant concern on all of our minds.
Yeah. I was
Always.
saying we didn't cover that. Josh isn't here because he kind of had a medical emergency, but he's fine. It's not a big deal.
It's just simple AIDS.
Yeah.
Well, it's HIV still, but it'll be there soon.
They got a pill for that.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen on the TV.
Yeah,
call
on the TV. And we got billboards in Nashville about it, so.
They make it act like you can live a real normal life now.
Magic Johnson makes it look good.
Oh, Magic Johnson been doing it for like 30 years now or something. Maybe longer than that, actually. Might be 40 years at this point.
Long time.
We have our local ag expert here, informing the. Yeah. Oh, we already have.
A couple
Yeah.
things.
Buffalo gnats, real fucking problem.
They are. They
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
I heard Jason does. Do you still do your 1 hour segment on WFKN?
I do about 30 minutes every Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's on FM radio now.
Moving on up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
he's pretty much got a little podcast he does every week.
Yeah. But I heard him speak for 30 minutes on Chiggers one morning, and it
Take it
blew
easy,
my
brother.
mind. I was enthralled with Jason's Chigger conversation, and I have been viciously attacked twice in the last month by Chiggers.
I forgot you brought this up yesterday, and we've been talking about chiggers for like 2 days
I'm
now.
covered in Chiggers as we speak.
Man, chiggers are terrible. I spend a lot of time
I'm
outside
aware.
right now, and they will literally pack you off. So
Or is it Chiggas? Sorry.
it just depends.
Yeah, where you are.
Yeah. but I'll tell you this: they do not burrow into your skin.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
That is the one thing that they're in there.
Yeah, I just want to clarify the fact that people have delayed reactions to chigger bites. And you hear all this mess, and they say, oh, we'll put clear fingernail polish on it. I'm not saying that's a myth. The myth is, I'll tell you why, that keeps you from scratching it.
Yeah.
That's why it helps. When you scratch it, it itches.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, people think that they're burrowed into your skin, and that's just not true. You have a delayed reaction, and different whelps pop up at different times.
Yeah.
So
Don't
don't ever let anybody tell you that they're
I was
in
say
your
I'd
skin.
always heard that. I mean, I probably heard that from my great grandma whenever I was 8 years
And
old.
was she
probably.
pretty good looking, or?
I mean, she was old whenever I was young, so.
Past her prime is what you're saying?
Yeah, she was,
Past her prime?
She was up there whenever I was. I mean,
Okay.
She passed when I was 9. So I mean, yeah.
Motorcycle wreck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motorcycle wreck. Broke her hip and just never recovered from that motorcycle wreck.
Yep.
At least she went out in style.
Blaze of glory. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's how
Your grandma lied to you for a long time about chiggers, and that's where we are.
Yeah, that's where we're at. That's where we're
She
at.
fed you full of a bunch of bullshit.
Oh, you said wives' tales yesterday when we had our meeting, and I was thinking, I was like, I wonder how many of the wives' tales that I know are from my great grandma, because I'm sure all of them are.
Yeah.
Every last one. There's a little switch on the bottom of this. That's the mic I usually use. I don't know what it is, but
Now you got something to fidget with.
my ADD's got something to fidget with. It might not be a good thing. Is this thing still? Yeah, it's still on. Okay.
It looks like it's still doing something.
Yeah,
That's all I know.
It's working down there. We don't got Josh is our guy. I'm the video guy. Josh is the audio guy, and without him here, I am freaking the hell out that this isn't going to work.
I'm not one bit nervous. I'm just glad to be having a conversation with you fellas. Back to the venomous snakes.
Okay, yeah, we got to circle back. Sorry,
Yeah, I don't. It was my fault. I brought up chiggers.
yeah.
But I'm getting married in 2.5 weeks,
Jesus Christ.
and if you live with someone who works for Life Evac Helicopters, you get free Life Evac helicopter rides. So that's that much more incentive to open a venomous snake milking farm, because I can get free life flights.
Well, what?
Oh, so if
I
you
mean,
get
what more could you need?
What more could you need?
if you get, I mean, like,
A little bit of courage, and
you think y'all's hospital here doesn't have antivenom?
I don't think everybody carries it.
Really? I feel like you'd need at least a little on hand.
Do you know how it works? How does anti-venom work? Is that a Google?
Yeah. What do you mean?
I'll tell you, you take it and it helps.
Yeah.
It's like it's the same thing as reverse engineering, like coronavirus. It's the same thing as reverse engineering a virus. Is you take out the bad stuff and put the whatever's like inert in it, and then it gives you the antibodies to fight it. Pretty much is what it does.
I think I saw a movie on that one time.
I think we lived through a year or two of that. So.
Was it who was not Dennis Hopper? Might have been Dennis Hopper. Who was the guy that played Rain Man? Was that Dennis Hopper?
I don't remember.
Dennis Hoffman.
Hopper.
Okay.
Hoffman. Yeah. There was a monkey that got loose in this town and gave everybody some kind of form of, I don't know, black plague coronavirus. But this movie came out in the late 90s, and he had to figure out the cure for this disease that they got from this monkey. The United States government was about to nuke this town.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I think that movie's actually called Pandemic.
Yeah,
I think
it
it's
might be.
just called Pandemic.
Yeah.
They put they pretty much put a bubble around the town, and they were thinking about we're going to nuke it in like 48 hours if you don't figure out how to take care of it. Pretty much.
I think that might be what I'm thinking about.
I'm pretty sure that movie's just called Pandemic.
Yeah.
I remember watching it during the pandemic. Being like, they should have done this shit whenever we found it. We should have just blocked off New York or wherever it started at.
Yeah, where was Patient Zero? Where did he come in from? That son of a bitch.
He came from Wuhan, but yeah.
Well, I mean, we get a lot of stuff like that, from overseas. And, tying it into agriculture, because that's what I do, we just had a lot of questions. Did y'all happen to see all the white stuff floating in the air? It kind of looked like it was snowing at the end of August, early September.
Yeah.
Everybody's asking me, what is this? And getting back to what we get from overseas, it was the Asian woolly hackberry aphid floating around. It was all over my car, my face.
Yeah.
Those were winged males floating around, or I guess technically flying. Looked like they were floating.
Just billions.
So they were insects?
Billions.
And they were looking for females.
But these are insects. This wasn't like a pollen or something. This was an insect that was...
I mean, it looked like fuzz was floating or snow, but they were looking for females to mate with, which seems to drive a lot of what happens in nature.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think most of the world's problems are because of that.
Yeah. Boys will be boys. Migration patterns, yeah.
I mean, just think about the periodical cicada.
Yeah.
Did you know there was a double brood this year?
Yeah, it was loud as hell, too. Oh, fuck, my phone. You got your...
What do you want, bud?
Can I just search for something?
I would love for you to.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead.
Do you
sorry.
know what you hear when they're sitting up in those trees?
Is it their wings?
Well, their sound, yeah. They're hollow-bodied, and it's a vibration. But it's a bunch of males in the same tree calling out that's their song.
And they all get in harmony and on the same exact time and everything.
Yeah. And they're calling out to the females, and they find the one that they think has the
has the juice,
the sweetest voice. Ooh. And she's tantalized, and here she comes, buddy. But
titillated.
We're gonna have exactly. Yeah. You took the words right out of my mouth.
I knew I did.
But we're going to have a bunch of cicadas again next year. Like the annual cicada's green, but the periodical cicada's black. It's got a little orange on it. And actually, we're going to have a lot of periodical cicadas right here in Simpson County. A lot of those periodical cicadas that came out a little bit earlier than the Dog Day cicada, which comes out when it's really, really hot. Obviously, that's why it gets its name, Dog Day cicada. To the west of us, around LBL, they had a lot more of the periodical cicadas. And it really made a lot of news. Those, and then there was a brood, they didn't really overlap much, up in Illinois. So the media took it and ran with it. It's a big double brood year. But pretty wild to think about. They lay there. Real quick fact: you probably always didn't want to know about cicadas, but the worms are in the ground, and those worms know how to come up, know when to emerge, and as cicadas, the nymphs know when to emerge as a result of sap cycles. And so that's how they know after 13 or 17 year. There's 13 year and 17 year. That's how they know when to come up.
You called them nymphs. I'm engaged to a nymph. But
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, hey, perfect.
yeah,
For you.
for me, and everybody has their own cup of tea.
When I was looking up, I saw it something, an article I read like a few weeks ago. It was about a bunch of bugs that like they were so concentrated that they showed up on the Doppler like over Missouri. It just I have my phone's the one that's recording right now, and I have it saved, that article or whatever. But
Yeah, I think you sent it to us.
I'm pretty sure I did.
Looked like a big storm.
The only thing on my quick search on your phone, it said grasshoppers and beetles, and then it also said mayflies, which mayflies it may have been mayflies. I don't remember. It's been a few weeks ago.
Mayflies.
But there was such a big swarm of them. It like looked like there was a tornado about to happen over St. Louis, pretty much.
Is that what happened when grasshoppers molt into their final form, if you will, and then they get in big swarms? That's when they're considered locusts, I'm pretty sure. Like one of the plagues of the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, a locust and a cicada are the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I do know that.
That's not what I said, but thank you for making me sound right. You did. You sounded like you were agreeing with
I
me.
am agreeing with you.
Okay.
And I'm sure that big swarm of things you saw was, I'll tell you what it's not, are murder hornets.
Yeah, no, I don't think we've ever seen. There's never been like a real sighting of a murder hornet. That was.
They're in Washington.
Yeah, but I
State,
don't know that.
like Oregon.
I heard about them for like 2 weeks, and then it just like I never saw a picture of one after that. And I was like, oh.
Hey, for that time period, I can't tell you how many pictures I got. Is this a murder hornet? Text.
Oh,
murder hornet.
question mark.
No,
Picture in the mail.
it's a European hornet. It's a cicada wasp killer. It is not a murder hornet. But they're nowhere close to here.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody was just, that's all you heard.
Well, I heard that Bill Gates was bioengineering them in a lab and ready to release. But that's just through the grapevine. I can't reveal my sources.
Well, that is very possible.
Yeah.
I would not deny or confirm.
I mean, I can't speak on it because I haven't talked to the guy.
I don't know that I would have.
this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spoke to him in the past, but it's been a while. I haven't caught up with him in a minute.
This is a newer project that he's working on.
Yeah. Really, we lost contact when I stopped logging into MySpace. He got busted in El Salvador, and I had to send him $5,000 to get out of jail, and I'm still waiting on him. He's supposed to give me $50,000 back. I got this on email.
Sounds like a Democrat.
Yeah.
A lot of interest.
Yeah.
Well, so is that's when you cut ties with Bill Gates?
Yeah, I mean, it was a sour point in our relationship. How do you feel about all of his farmland? Do you think he's trying to do something productive for humanity, or do you think he has an evil scheme up his sleeves?
Oh man, you're buddies with him.
And don't entrap yourself.
I'm just gonna say you're buddies with him, so I wish you'd ask because I'd like to know myself.
I'd like to know too.
Yeah, you gotta get in good with him. You like just give him a call and be like, "Hey man, I'm sorry I ain't talked to you in a while. I was real pissed off about that 5K. Let's just mark that off, and let's just have a good dinner."
Bygones be
I think I'm
bygones.
gonna wave at him on TikTok. You know, when you're like direct messaging people, you can just wave first, and I'm gonna see if he responds to that.
Okay, that's probably good.
I'm really more of a Melinda fan.
During your brief single days, did that ever work for you with the ladies? Like send them a wave?
I don't know if I would get drunk and send very inappropriate messages on Facebook, and that definitely didn't work. Yeah.
Didn't work?
No, it didn't.
Oh, man.
But thankfully, we're past all that. We found our happiness, and we're not trying to find it in the
DMs anymore.
Yeah. Finds out the happiness been inside of me all this time.
You just had to find it.
Just had to find it.
It was about the friends we made along the way.
The journey, not the destination.
About the journey, not the destination. This is probably. I had a few notes. We've been bugging Nick for like ever since he told us about you, to like be like, hey, what do we need to ask this guy? Like, because I was like, there's not really a whole lot of research I can do as other than like you're on a lot of websites, like you're on UK's. It kind of gives a quick rundown.
He's done his research.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
That's attractive.
I Googled the hell out of this guy over the last 2 weeks or so. So he's, I mean, like,
I don't know what all you might have found.
yeah, I mean, it was all professional websites. It was like the UK website, Franklin Simpson Chamber of Commerce, like Franklin Simpson something else.
It's a highly involved man.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, and it all had like, honestly, really generic descriptions of who you were. So I was like, this is giving me nothing to ask this guy anything specific, really.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to ask this guy about climate change. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, that's a tough question. And I do think, this is what I think, and this is totally non-political, just Jason Phillips' answer. And so I'm kind of going off, this is not a representation of UK either.
Yeah.
This is just what I think.
That's very safe.
But I do
That's
think
That's a good idea.
If you look back in time, the amount of time that we've been keeping records of weather is just a small snapshot in time. So, you know, when we're looking at any data set, you're looking at like if you've got a small sample size, it may not be representative of the big picture.
Of the billions of years we've been here, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so my thought is, okay, look, we've had an ice age, right? People were not involved in that.
Yeah.
I mean, really and truly.
Yeah, no,
People did not
had no effect on it. Yeah.
They did not cause the ice age. Now, it's not, to me, it's just probably cyclical that we're seeing some warming trends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had an ice age. Now we're seeing some more warming trends.
Yeah.
Having said that, do I think that everything that we do to our environment is environmentally friendly?
No.
Obviously,
yeah, obviously
there's
not.
definitely things that we could do better to
Yeah.
preserve the environment.
Absolutely.
But do I think that you know, we're making a massive impact on the climate and it warming personally?
yeah. Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's always been my opinion on it too. Is like I don't doubt that we have some kind of effect on it, obviously, because there's how many billions of us on the planet, and especially
8 or 9 now.
Yeah, especially the cities that are like super concentrated, where you've just got smog in the sky. All
Yeah, I
day
could
long
see smog when I was driving to Nashville this morning. Yeah.
Really? Huh.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've ever noticed that in Nash, but Hollywood, I've seen it.
Open your eyes. Open your eyes, Wes.
I mean, the 2 times I've been past the Hollywood sign, the smog was so bad that you could not see it. You should have been able to see it from the interstate, and you just couldn't see it. You could see, like, there were letters back there, but it was like you were at getting an eye test done, and you were like, better? No, all these suck.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, it was like I wouldn't have been able to read it if I didn't know what it said.
And, you know, I'm kind of glad that you did ask that question, because another thing that I hear sometimes in a negative light is factory farms or farmers not caring about the environment, which is just not true.
Yeah.
I mean, the vast majority of the farms in Simpson County are still family farms. I mean, they're getting bigger, but they're still family-owned farms.
Yeah.
And they want to have those farms there for the next generation. So they're doing conservation tillage, preserving topsoil. You know, a lot of practices where the soil will not wash, soil conservation. Believe you me, you know.
I'm sure they have like those fallow years too, or whatever, where they don't grow anything either to get the nutrients built back up.
Rotation.
They do crop rotation. Yeah. But they want those resources there, and they want them to be lucrative, and as productive as they can possibly be for the next generation.
Yeah.
You know, those farm families are tight knit families, and they want to help their kids as best that they can, and that's the resource that they've got to give them. So, you know, I think they're basically. I honestly think they're our number one conservationists out here.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. I absolutely don't doubt it. I mean, like, why would these people that depend on the land want to ruin the land? Probably they're going to be the ones that does the most to save it or protect it, I guess.
Right.
Better word,
it's been in the
save it.
family for generations a lot of times, and they want it to be in the family for generations to come.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't think the farmers, I mean, obviously they're not doing anything, they're not trying to hurt anything. I mean, obviously they're making a living off of it, but at the same time, like, they want to be able to make a living off of it for generations to come. So they're not going to bleed it dry just so they can be rich and then just, you know, F their kids or whatever, like kick them to the curb or whatever.
I mean, sustainability, that's a big word. And you know, they're farming in sustainable ways that's going to, whatever they take off, they're putting back.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of nutrients.
Is there any kind of like like law or rule or whatever you want to call it about like what kind of pesticides and what they can use to like help grow, stuff like that?
For sure, yeah. I mean, so most of the farmers, unless it's necessary, a lot of times they're not just out here because these pesticides are expensive.
Yeah.
So they're not over applying pesticides because, you know, in order to, they've got a budget and they got to make that all work.
Yeah.
And they're expensive. But the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, has approved all these. And believe me, their approval process, it takes a long time and it's really rigorous. And nowadays, pesticides are much more environmentally friendly than they used to be. And that's why we're seeing a lot of insects maybe that we're having trouble controlling, because overall these pesticides are more environmentally friendly, so they're not actually killing as many insects maybe as previous ones have.
That's fair, I think. I mean, like obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that listen to this because of all of my conspiracy theories and whatnot. So one of my big things is, like, obviously y'all are seeing these buffalo gnat things. I don't know anything about it or whatever, but and obviously I'm not a farmer, so I'm not there every day or whatever. But like, all I think about whenever I think of pesticides and whatnot is Monsanto and how much money that they have and how much money they could just slide to the EPA and be like, hey, our stuff's safe. You know, let's just move on. Like, it's okay. Just push it through this rigorous process. You've got, here's $13 billion. Who cares about it? We've got trillions.
Yeah. Well, I do know that there's been certain pesticides that UK has found to work pretty well, and how long that particular pesticide is to get registered for a specific crop.
Yeah.
Now, they're not a mega company like Monsanto, but I know it's a very, very rigorous and strict process.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not in the industry, obviously, so the only one that really comes to my mind is Monsanto, and I know how much money they've got. Like, they're owned by BlackRock, which owns most of the country at this point, so, like, I know they've got the money to do whatever they want to do, and nobody's probably going to question them too much, you know, so they're just going to move on. But I mean, it makes me feel good that there are like smaller ones, like the UK is like dealing with and whatnot. Like, that's nice.
And well, they're trying to get some registered for different crops, for instance. But I do think that you know, without being on the EPA, you know, I don't see the inner workings of what
obviously
happens there.
Yeah,
of course. But I have every reason to think that they have to go through the same hoops that everybody else does.
Yeah.
And one thing that I would say, just being in that field, there's not a lot of new chemistries becoming available. So there may be new pesticides with different trade names, but the active ingredient is still the same.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot of new active ingredients.
So, like, to make them, so like we've got these new ones that aren't killing as bad as the old ones did. So are they just watering those ingredients down then, since there's not new ones?
Well, I mean, one example that I would use, and this is an extreme example.
Yeah.
But you remember whenever you were a kid and you know, you heard good night, sleep tight.
Don't let the bed bugs bite. Yeah.
Exactly. I didn't think bed bugs were like even a real thing.
Yeah, I didn't know they were until I was probably an adult, to be honest.
You know, and now I have people bringing bed bugs into my office a lot for identification.
That's fun.
Yeah, and you know, if you ever, I mean, they look about like an apple seed. If they've got blood in them. If not, they're kind of clear, kind of transparent. The reason that I mention that is back in the days. Now we're going back to like DDT, so I'm talking like back
A long time
ago.
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the main reasons
DDT. I don't remember what DDT stands for. Do you?
It was an old pesticide.
Yeah.
That was widely used. Not safe.
Yeah, it was not safe. Yeah, that's what I remember about it. I just couldn't remember what it stood for or whatever. But yeah, it was. They got rid of it pretty quick.
Right, but back then there wasn't quite as much regulation.
Yeah.
But like when pesticides like DDT and some of those things were being used, we weren't having a lot of problems from different insects. But it was because of the harshness of that particular chemical. Bed bugs. One reason that we actually used to have them, basically eradicated them. They attribute that to DDT. They stayed present in Asia and Europe, and then when we started more international travel, they were reintroduced to the United States. So that's sort of an example. That's sort of a long way to get around to the answer of what I was trying to trying to communicate. In that I do think that the pesticides that we're using today, and when I say pests, I'm talking about insects, I'm talking about diseases, bacterial, fungal diseases.
Yeah.
I'm talking about weeds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just kind of something to paint the bigger picture.
Yeah, I got you. That's another big thing too. Like we were talking about climate change earlier and how much and climate change kind of gets lumped into people caring about animals. Like they start attacking like these. I mean, they technically are factory farms. These ones that have just thousands of herds of cattle that are just getting raised to be killed. Which is, I mean, we're humans. It's what we do. We gotta have things to eat. We're the smarter species, so this makes sense. Like that, we would have to evolve to this point. But a lot of people, climate change, attack those farms because they produce so much methane, and that supposedly is bad for the environment. Yada yada yada, and then the factory farms. But for some reason they skip over the factory farms that are for like lettuce and cabbage and carrots. Like they kill just as many animals because they ruin just way more acres than these cattle farms do with like pushing all these animals out, like deer, squirrels, other wildlife and whatnot. Like they're ruining so many. And I'm not on a soapbox because I really don't. Obviously, we need these things to eat. We need vegetables. There's 9 billion of us on this planet. Like, there's not really any other way around it. But, like, it's just weird how, or not weird, it's just funny how, like, they pick and choose, like, which ones they kind of go after.
Right. A lot of it's political. And like, I'm not advocating to eat meat or to not eat meat.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when folks become purely vegetarian, they're missing out on certain forms of protein that the body actually needs. And then, and other zinc. Beef is really high in zinc. But I guess what I'm saying is, they have to end up taking some of those things supplementally.
Yeah.
I think humans are, since the beginning of time, we were hunter-gatherers.
Yeah.
And we're meant to consume meat.
Yeah, I was going to say, that wasn't as long ago as people have imagined.
Right.
Like, that wasn't, I mean, I know the Earth has been here for probably billions of years, but humans, we're pretty new to this place, especially the intelligent side of us, of being able to make societies and everything, like governments and everything like we've done now. We've got factory farms, etc. So, yeah, we're pretty new to this. So we're still absolutely trying to figure this thing out, in my opinion.
And speaking, again, not to totally. I mean, on a large scale, yes, there are some large corporations that own farms.
Yeah.
But Simpson County is about the 10th highest producing corn county in Kentucky.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Yeah, Franklin, baby.
That's right.
Top 10%, baby.
Hey, out of all 120 counties, and they're top 15 in soybean production, and we're the third smallest county in total land area. So think about that on a percentage basis.
Dang.
I think about 75% of our ground is tillable and dedicated to farmland.
Sweet.
So, I mean, I think the argument can be made, and I've always heard this, that we have the most tillable land of any county in the state of Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean,
we've only
know.
got one town.
Yeah.
Now we continue, obviously, to
Grow.
see urban sprawl and
I would say
industrialization.
Bowling Green's starting to reach its way here too,
Right.
on Franklin Road specifically. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, some of that ground was farmland.
Yeah.
But I don't know of one farm in Simpson County
That's owned by like a big organization
that I would consider to be a factory.
Yeah.
Factory farm.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's. I mean, whenever I say factory farm, like I said, I'm talking about these places that have like thousands and thousands of cattle, and they're like, a lot of them honestly are in like places like in Europe and whatnot too. Like a lot of them are, but yeah, you're not wrong. There's some of them that are over there where the USA just isn't populated by us, like like Idaho and Montana, like you said, parts of the Dakotas that just don't have. They've got like one pocket of a bunch of people, and there ain't nothing anywhere else.
Well, a lot of that land, like Allen County, is not capable of producing crops. Just too rocky.
Yeah.
The soil's not good enough. It's mountainous, and that's perfect. That's perfect livestock land. And
I was gonna say, whenever like me growing up, I probably said, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Like I'm from Scottsville, but so me growing up, I only ever worked on a tobacco farm or a dairy farm. I never saw any other crops or worked with any other crops other than tobacco. So
Now, as time has changed, when I first started in 2000 and let's see, I started in 2005. Graduated at May 8th and started May 16th. So I was out of school for about a whole week. But
like, at a college or
out of college.
Okay.
Yeah. And I ended up getting a master's while I was working from Western. But I've got a musical segue coming in here. This is about to get big. This is about to get monumental.
I was gonna say that's why I wanted to. Before we move further, that's why I wanted to say the thing about Scottsville, because like you were saying, it's all rocky. It's mostly cattle. It was mostly cattle. That's what I was trying to stab at. It was mostly dairy farms, and I'm guessing
it's just not flat enough.
beef farms and whatnot. Yeah. And where it was flat, they grew tobacco pretty much.
Well,
so
Simpson County's always been really diverse, but when I started, there were 12 dairy farms. And now you can play like some music, like it's bad, like something bad happened. Okay, now we're down to one dairy farm.
Who is that?
JP and what the Robertsons.
Yeah,
the Robertson farms, and they're a large farm, but it's all family.
Yeah,
it's all family. They've got hay, they've got cattle, they've got row crops, and they've got a dairy. But they're still purely a family farm. And of course, when I started, tobacco was just a mainstay for Simpson County, and a lot of that ground is now being row cropped. It's a lot of our tobacco producers are getting out of tobacco production, and you know what I do fear a little bit. The tobacco producing families, it's been in their family for generations. And it's kind of, especially when we talk about dark tobacco production and fired tobacco, that's going to be a lost art. Because the reason that people grow dark tobacco and fire it where they do that's not the only place that it can be grown.
Yeah.
But those are the families that know how to do it. To produce that wrapper quality of tobacco, it's an art.
Yeah.
It's a blend of science and art. But to actually fire a crop right, it is an art. And that's going to be lost as time progresses. And you know.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, like, it's obviously like it's like you do that old thing you used to do in high school or whatever, where you like you're acting like you're spreading a rumor, and like the teacher will say something to Nick, and Nick will, I guess that's maybe, I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, they would go around the big circle, and by the time I got to the last person, they'd be like, all right, what'd they tell you? And it would be completely different from whatever the first person told you. So that's what I'm saying is generation to generation, just things are going to get lost. It's just going to happen no matter what.
I got a funny story about kind of the education system kind of pushing their agenda on our children.
Oh, boy.
I was out at Jacob Walton's for a party a couple weeks ago, and a guy was smoking a cigarette, and Jacob's 6-year-old son came up to him and said, "You need to put that out. You're ruining the environment." And that guy, it was Ryan Forshee, he pointed to Jacob's 40 acres of tobacco and said, "You're fucking growing it right there." He said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Jacob, what does this boy think y'all are growing out here? You're growing cigarettes, boy."
Sunflowers out here.
Yeah. So his teacher at school told him that cigarettes are ruining the environment.
Oh, my God.
And he went back and told everybody at the party. And everybody was like, "This is how you're eating your food right now."
Yeah.
This is where all these, you bought 80 half a chickens that your daddy's smoking. That came from tobacco money, boy.
Yeah. Go back and tell your teacher I'm wearing tobacco clothes right now.
Yeah. I just bought a Marlboro tent on Facebook Marketplace.
Tobacco put a lot of people through college.
Yeah.
Paid for a lot of people's just overall, paid the bills.
Yeah.
So it ain't good for you. I mean, I'm pretty much a lifetime nicotine user from me being old enough to use nicotine pretty much, like, well, before 18. But either way, and I mean, it's not a good thing to do, but it has helped a lot of people, especially farmers and whatnot. People in Kentucky who would have never known, and there would be no other way for them to make any money, pretty much, because they were in Nowheresville, Kentucky, or Tennessee, or wherever the hell they were. They couldn't do anything else. So
critical source of income.
Yeah.
Simpson County was also like the mule capital of like the southeastern United States, right?
What's that? Mule cap?
Mules.
Oh, like the actual livestock.
Donkey and horse mixed. Yeah. We used to have Mule Day, and people would come from across the country to look at mules that Simpson County trainers had bred and raised and trained. And yeah, Jacob Walton's granddad was a real famous mule breeder.
Huh.
Just a little before our time.
Just a little bit. This was before the automotive industry, of course. But yeah, we used to have Mule Day. There's a law in Simpson County that says you can't carry an ice cream cone in your back pocket.
I've heard of this law.
That's how people would steal horses and donkeys and mules from the square. When their horses were tied up, they would untie the lead rope from the hitching post.
Yeah.
And they'd put an ice cream cone in their back pocket, and the livestock would follow them home.
Yeah.
So if anybody said anything, they'd be like, "I'm not leading this horse. This horse is following me."
Yeah.
So it was.
I had heard. Yeah, that is an actual law.
Yeah.
I'd heard of that law. I didn't know what it was for though. Yeah. I remember like in high school.
It's how people were cattle rustling back in the day. Yeah. Tricks of the trade. Wish I'd have known that when I was stealing from Walmart in high school. Some of them loopholes.
Statute of limitations.
Yeah, I hope.
We're coming down to the wire. We get off the agriculture for a bit. I think we've bothered him enough. We're about 50 minutes right now. Well, Trump about got assassinated again this weekend.
And you mentioned BlackRock earlier. This attempted assassinator, is that what you call him?
Yeah.
He was also an extra in a BlackRock commercial.
So funny enough, on my way up here, so I put that video on our page, and I got a notification from Facebook saying that it was false information. So on my way up here, I got that thing. I'll dig into it myself.
Okay.
I still believe that he was for sure in that BlackRock commercial, but
Yeah.
I'll look into it. Facebook says that's a lie. I don't trust Facebook though, so I'll look into it myself.
You and me both.
I have come to trust Zuckerberg here in the last few months.
Why?
Just because I feel like the alphabet agencies pushed him into a lot of stuff that he.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that.
But he can't control all the fact checkers in his organization.
That's true.
Yeah.
True. I'm not saying.
I'm just saying I'm a guy. I pride myself.
He was just pressured into a lot of that.
Yeah.
It may not even been him that was pressured into it. He probably did. He may have not even known it was going on.
Yeah.
As far as disconnect that he was. I'm not sticking up for this guy by any means. He should have better control over his company.
At the end of the day, he's going to catch the brunt of it because it's his company.
But it's the same thing about president. You've got that dude up there that's gonna catch all the flack of everything bad that's going on, regardless of what happens. He's the face that gets the shit, pretty much. Yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, he should be looking. He should have been looking into quite a bit more. But it's funny these days. Like, you remember him whenever he was in front of Congress or Supreme Court or whatever it was, and he looked like an absolute alien. Yeah. And these days, like
the lizard memes.
He's been hanging out with like football players and stuff. Like, he's got long hair now. Like, he looks like a normal dude now. Yeah. Like, I don't know I don't know if he discovered pot or something.
Maybe he had one of them ayahuasca journeys, you know?
Yeah. I was going to say, he looks like 15 years younger these days than he did back whenever he was on that Supreme Court, like, not blinking and barely drinking water or whatever he was doing. Like, it's so strange how he made that switch up.
I would like to talk about the hemp industry.
Okay, that's a good one, yep.
Yeah. We had a few farmers try to grow. Or do we have anybody still? Oh, Jason is a CBD farmer.
Well, yeah, Lick Creek Hemp Company. Chris is the face of that.
Yeah.
But I definitely do help out with that.
Yeah.
And, there's not much hemp production going on now, which everybody, as tobacco transitioned out, everybody thought hemp was the answer. And I'm not so sure that it's not. But I think a lot of these companies that tried to jump in because they saw dollar signs, and I'm talking about processors. So you've got farmers out here growing it, and these processors basically aren't liquid enough. By the time they build their facility, they're maxed out, right?
Yeah.
So they're saying that once we sell your hemp, you get a percentage of it back. Bad deal. Bad deal for anybody. Yeah. And when they were originally looking at getting into it, a bunch of farmers, I said, don't plant more than you can afford to lose.
Yeah.
Because what would happen would be they'd take a gentleman's or gal's hemp, right, and never sell it. And then they go bankrupt and they don't see a penny out of it. So everything that they put into that hemp, they lost. So it was basically a lot of people in the middle, the processors, trying to jump in thinking, hey, we're about to get rich right here. And then they can't make it.
Yeah.
And then the farmers are actually left holding the bag.
Yeah.
I also do think there's some good attributes, and I've seen this firsthand, of CBD that is not allowed. We were just talking a little bit about Facebook.
Yeah.
And pretty much all social media, that is not allowed to be out there.
What do you mean? What's not allowed?
Information.
So if you want to post something to promote hemp or CBD, there's keywords. They will kick you off of Facebook.
Okay, yeah.
So
okay.
you cannot make a post saying CBD is good for you.
Yeah.
Look into shopping here or there.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I ran a e-cig business I was the manager of like a few stores in Bowling Green, Madisonville, Clarksville, Tennessee, and there was like nowhere that would let us advertise pretty much, and it was like we weren't selling cigarettes. We're selling something that's arguably much better than cigarettes, in my opinion. or in a lot of people's opinion, that these days now it's been, I mean, e-cigs have been around for, I mean, I was 25 whenever I started that, and I'm 35 now, so I guess it was a decade ago when I first started doing that. And no, I was younger than that. I was 23 or 22 when I started that. So yeah, it's been over a decade since I was doing that, and we couldn't, D93 in Bowling Green would let us come on there and do commercials and talk to us and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And they were like the only people that were cool with us. But we couldn't say cigarette. Right. That was the only thing that we couldn't say, was we could not say cigarette.
Well, I mean, hemp's federally legal.
Yeah.
You know, so
weed damn near is now with all this Delta 8 stuff. I know me and Nick's probably dabbled in a little Delta 8 stuff that you get from the corner store. But it ain't, I mean, I'm not a big weeds user at all, but for what it is, it does the same thing that the real stuff does to me, at least. But also, I'm not a chronic user either.
Well,
I'm like a once every 3 months kind of guy, maybe.
I guess what I would say is for Lick Creek, for instance, it's 100% CBD. Yeah. No THC whatsoever. You know, they can't advertise on Twitter, on Facebook, on any social media platform that you can think of. But it's federally legal. So yeah. What gives there? I don't understand that.
It feels like they're hiding the medical benefits of it because
they're worried about. I mean,
because we got to push the pharmaceutical.
So that's
pill
big,
pushers.
That's a big portion of it. But you can build a house with hemp that's much stronger than like concrete in some instances. You could also make clothes out of it that's going to last a lot longer.
But if you get on there and start talking about hemp, buddy, you're kicked off.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Hemp can do all those things. If you're
kicked off of social media, what's the use of living?
Well,
why are we even here?
This day and age, you ain't gonna sell shit without it.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the kicker is how do you promote a product?
Yeah. Have you ever heard a guy named Chad Wilson?
I don't believe I have.
Man, he's been in this area. I remember him coming to my e-cig store forever ago. I mean, this was probably 2010, 11. And he's been in the CBD game for a long time. And he was one of the first people that ever gave me like a little dropper vial of CBD. Mm-hmm. And that was one. I mean, I haven't ever gotten anything else from him in the last decade or so. But I remember that first time I used it, it did exactly like what he was like, you're going to feel it in your shoulders. Everything's going to relax, but you're not going to be high at all. You're just going to feel
well, you can definitely
good.
Get.
And I definitely did that day that I used it. And I bought a few balls off of him back then, but he's still doing it. Like he's a big advocate. I see him. I'm friends with him on Facebook. I can't remember what his company's called these days, but I think he's actually had to change it around a lot because of getting banned from Facebook and stuff like that. Like he's had to change his operating as name or doing business as name.
Why are those obstacles? I just can't understand. I mean, it goes back to what Nick said, really. You know, somebody doesn't want that information getting out.
Yeah.
But definitely, it's a really, really good at helping with inflammation. Yeah. Both internally. I know for like folks with Crohn's, with ulcerative colitis, helpful with that as well as arthritis, anxiety. There's
pretty
tons
sure
of
Josh has probably outed himself, but I know he uses like CBD hemp style stuff. You say ulcerative colitis. That's what Josh has. That's why he's not here tonight. So I know he uses it to help with that inflammation and whatnot.
Any inflammation in the body, whether it be in your gut or in your knees or your elbow or your shoulder, and also just mental well-being.
Yeah.
And it does seem like that's being suppressed.
Yeah. I think they're just, like you said, not only those
erectile dysfunction.
I don't know if it would help that or not.
Well, you should try it. Let them.
Only one way to. Hey, there's only one way to know.
Yeah.
Our listeners are called. We're in kind of a debate right now. We used to call them Tommy knockers. Now we're calling them goons. The Goon Squad, Goonies, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a debate right
everybody
now.
do your research. Let us know.
Yeah, if you can
get some feedback.
If you can still,
are you still getting it up? Try some CBD.
I have heard of people saying that like sex is a lot better, like while stoned. And every time somebody says that to me, I'm like, I cannot even imagine. Whenever I'm stoned, I'm just like,
It's real romantic.
Maybe reaching for a Funyun.
I'm out of it. I'm
Damn,
out
a
of it.
Funyun sounds good.
I'm staring at a ceiling fan for the next couple hours. That's how bad I am with it. But yeah, I don't know. It's got so many different uses.
Right.
In my opinion, that it would cripple so many big industries that they don't want it to get out.
I really think that some of your big companies that I'm not going to name, big pharmaceutical, big pharma, at some point they're going to have to buy in and they're going to have to incorporate it or sell it.
Yeah.
And they're pushing that, they're kicking that can down the road as long as they can, and they're going to kick that can down the road, and they've got the money to do it, to make it be a problem, to suppress it.
So,
at some point, enough, just verbally, word of mouth, or enough people are going to be like, look, I know this works.
Yeah.
This works. Y'all, we're not taking these man-made pills anymore. We're taking this.
Yeah, something from the earth.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing, not to bring it back to the e-cig thing, but back whenever my store first opened and whatnot, you would have Marlboro ads and those Truth, I don't know if anybody knows this, but like the truth.net or used the old commercials from the 90s. They came out about e-cigs again, but that company is also owned by like RJ Reynolds and who owns Marlboro? I can't remember.
I want to say Philip Morris.
Philip Morris, yeah.
Philip Morris.
So that like they have like big stakes in that company. So like they came back whenever e-cigs first hit, and were trying to be like, oh, they're not safe. Like they had ads like trying to knock them down, and then 5 or 6 years later they were just like, all right, well, we can't fight to see more. So they bought Juul. They all have their own version of a e-cig nowadays.
Same deal.
Yeah.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, Juul, Views. I mean, there's so many different ones that RJ and Philip Morris owns these days that they were just like, oh, fuck it.
I was
Might
so
as well.
excited when I heard rumors that Marlboro was going to be releasing a 20-pack of marijuana joint, like a pack of marijuana joint cigarettes.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago when I heard that rumor, though. Ain't got one now. Where they at, Philip Morris? Where they at?
Funny enough, when I was in college, I rarely ever smoked like weed by itself. I would always roll a spliff, which is just weed with some tobacco in it. That was how I always smoked. And I would have an empty pack of cigarettes, and I would just pack them all in there. Yeah. So yeah, if they made a pack of those, just some spliffs, like a 10-pack or a 20-pack, I guess. Yeah, that's how cigarettes come, right? It's been a long time since I bought a pack of cigarettes, to be honest. So.
At some point, that'll probably be a thing.
Yeah.
But still, I don't see them yet.
And I guarantee you it'll be
25. Didn't 25 come in a pack?
I think a regular pack of cigarettes 20.
20.
But I guarantee you we get marijuana cigarettes from Philip Morris before the polar ice caps melt. And, guys, it has been a blast.
It's been a good app,
Thank
boys.
you, Jason, for coming.
Man, I hope the goons.
Yeah.
Goons, yeah, the knockers, the knockos.
I hope they've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's fun.
We could sit here and bullshit all night.
Yeah, we could. I was gonna say, I mean, you're welcome to come back anytime, and we don't have to drill you about agriculture stuff. If you want to just shoot the shit about whatever else. I mean,
It'll be a conspiracy theory.
I was gonna say Josh probably prides himself on keeping us on track, but I think we've been pretty on fucking track. This episode.
I feel good about it.
I do too.
I feel good about it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate y'all. Man, I do.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all having me.
We
Yeah, I'm
appreciate
glad.
you, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate
Local
it.
hometown hero, Jason Phillips, everybody. This has been Nick Cook.
It's the West Dub.
This is Fine by Me.
West Coast,